Do you want to use Linux on your Windows machine but do not want to remove Windows? Then this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to show you how to run Linux on a Windows machine using WSL. My goal is to explain this in step-by-step approach even beginner can easily understand. By the end of this video, you will not only run Linux commands on your Windows machine but also have a clear understanding of what to do in case of an issue. So, let's jump in. First, let us answer a basic question. Why do even people want Linux on their Windows machine? Because it is not practically possible to purchase and maintain a second laptop just to run Linux operating system. Correct? There might be more than 100 reasons to learn Linux or use Linux. I'm sure you will have your own as well. A lot of real world environments use Linux servers. So it becomes obvious to learn Linux commands, to work with CLI, and also perform automation workflows which are built around Linux. So if you want to grow in technical roles, learning Linux is a very strong skill. This is where WSL comes in. WSL stands for Windows Subsystem for Linux. It doesn't require you to install something heavy like VirtualBox or VMware. Instead, you can simply run few commands in your Windows machine to enable this. After that, it allows you to run Linux environments directly on your Windows machine, which means you can open a Linux terminal, run Linux commands, install packages as you do on Linux while still using your normal Windows lab. So this is not about deleting or replacing your Windows machine. This is about getting a Linux environment inside Windows environment. So let me set the expectations properly here. When you use WSL, you are not switching your laptop into Linux mode permanently. You will still be on Windows, but inside Windows, you get access to Linux distributions like Ubuntu or Debian. You can work in a real Linux terminal environment within Windows. So, this is a very safe and practical way to begin with Linux. The only thing you need to check before installing WSL is if virtualization is installed in your laptop. So, why not to understand virtualization first? So, it will be easy for you to troubleshoot your WSL in case you face any blocker. Virtualization is a technology that allows your computer to create an isolated environment to run another operating system within it. You do not have to go deep into the theory part right now. For this video, just understand one thing. WSL depends on virtualization support, and virtualization not only depends on Windows operating system, but it also needs support from your physical hardware, which is your laptop. So, if virtualization is disabled on your physical hardware, WSL may not work properly. Don't worry, it is easy to enable it from the BIOS of your virtual machine, and I will show you how in a moment. If you're not sure if your laptop has that feature inbuilt, don't worry. Nowadays, in many laptops, virtualization is enabled by default. But let us first verify if virtualization is enabled or no in your laptop. To check this, right click on the taskbar, click on Task Manager, and navigate to Performance. Once you click on CPU, here is where you can check the virtualization part. In my case, virtualization is enabled. So I'm good to install and run WSL commands. If it says disabled, then you need to turn it on from the BIOS of your laptop. This step is important because many beginners try to install WSL directly and hit an error, and it is very easy to get confused here. So it is better to understand this early. But what exactly is BIOS? Let me explain. Every computer has a motherboard, right? And BIOS is the software which is built into that motherboard. And BIOS is the software which starts when you power on your system. It runs first. The main job of it is it initializes and checks the main hardware components of your computer like CPU, RAM, keyboard and storage, etc. to see if everything are connected properly. Then it hands over the hardware to operating system, and from there your operating system will boot. So the only way to reach BIOS is after rebooting your machine. So to enter BIOS, you usually restart your computer and press a key like function 2, delete, escape, depending on your laptop or motherboard. The exact key may vary from one system to another. Once you enter BIOS, look for a setting related to virtualization. On Intel based system, it may appear as virtualization technology or VTX, and on AMD based systems, it may appear as SVM or AMDV. If you see that system, if that setting is disabled, then you need to enable it. And one important point here, do not randomly change any other settings in BIOS. The only thing you need to change, if virtualization is disabled, just enable it. If virtualization is already enabled, then you do not need to do anything here. The goal of this step is not to scare you. The goal is simply to make sure your system is ready for WSL2. Okay. Once the booting completed, let's go back to the Windows. All right. We're back in Windows. The first step in installing WSL is to turn on the WSL feature itself. As I said, WSL comes inbuilt with your operating system, but most of the times it will come disabled. You need to enable it first. To do that, to do that, click Start menu and search for turn Windows feature on or off. Just select it. When that opens, make sure this feature is enabled, which is Windows subsystem for Linux. In my case, it is not enabled, so I'll just enable it. To enable it, just check this box and click on OK. And it says the installation or enabling it is completed, and it is asking me to restart the computer. Just click on Restart now. Please remember, once the reboot completes, WSL software will be enabled on your machine, and we have one more step to do to complete the installation process. All right, now my Windows is back. Let us check if WSL is installed properly. To check this, uh, click on Windows button and open PowerShell. Let me increase the font size. Yes. After enabling the WSL service, the next command I generally suggest to execute is WSL hyphen hyphen update. So this will make sure the WSL software is up to date, and this eliminates any further errors which might occur while running our Linux environments. So this will take some time, and once it is done, we are good to go. So now let's execute the command saying WSL. Now WSL will enable Linux environment within the Windows environment. So you can access all these environments directly from your PowerShell window. Okay, just run. Let's first run WSL and see what it shows. Bam. Windows subsystem for Linux has no installed distributions. Distribution can be installed by visiting Microsoft Store. All it means is simple. We have enabled WSL, and now your Windows machine is capable of running Linux environments, but you do not have any Linux distribution installed in your laptop. So it is asking us to install it or get it from the Microsoft Store. But let us not go that way. As we are already inside the PowerShell window, let us execute few WSL commands which will let us download these distributions directly from the internet. Okay, so let's do it. But before I download any Linux distributions, I'm not sure what kind of distributions I have, right? So now, if I want to see which Linux distributions are available for installation, all I need to do is just run this command WSL hyphen hyphen list double hyphen online. Now, this will give the list of all the Linux distributions which I can use in this WSL. Now, I see a small list of distributions, but now the confusion starts which one to pick. That is where we move to the next part of the video, which is choosing the right OS flavor. Now, let us come to a very common beginner question: which Linux distro should I choose? A simple recommendation is, if you are just starting, so go with Ubuntu. Why? Because it is beginner friendly, very commonly used, and has a huge amount of tutorials and community support. If you want something simple and stable, then you can pick Debian. And if you are interested in performing security scanning or penetration testing, you might go with Kali Linux. But for general Linux learning I would still say start with Ubuntu. Do not overcomplicate the decision right now. The biggest mistake beginners generally do is spending too much time choosing the perfect distro instead of actually starting. So, if you're new, Ubuntu is the safest choice. So, let's start with Ubuntu. To install Ubuntu, I've opened a new PowerShell window and install -d followed by the distribution name. In my case, the distribution name is, and this is asking me permission to approve the installation. And please remember, this needs administrative privileges to install the Ubuntu operating system. So make sure you have the credentials ready. Or if you don't have admin credentials, just ask your administrator to install this software on your behalf. So I'll just click yes, and it will start installing the operating system. And done, the Ubuntu operating system is now installed. Done. My Linux distribution is now installed. But when the distribution opens for the first time, it will usually ask you to create a username and password. This is your Linux user account inside WSL environment. Please remember, it is separate from your Windows login. So do not get confused here. Just create a username you like, set a password, and complete this step. So I will type my user account as Mini Ubuntu, just uh, this for my identification, and I'll start typing the password. Remember, this is where people generally get confused. Whenever we type a password in Windows, we generally get stars or asterisk symbols, right? But in Ubuntu, it doesn't show you anything while you're typing the password. So you might feel like you are not typing at all. In reality, it is accepting your password, whatever you're typing. So make sure you are typing it clearly. So let me type my password. Done. And it is asking me to retype the password. I will carefully retype the same password and done. Good. The user setup is completed. And congratulations. Now we have a perfectly running Ubuntu environment inside my Windows environment. How did I know it? Just look at this. It clearly says Vinil Ubuntu inside my Ubuntu machine. If you still want to confirm, just execute this simple command which proves the operating system is a Ubuntu operating system. The command is cat slash etc slash os hyphen release. Hit enter. Now it clearly says the command is executed inside a Ubuntu 24.4 LTS version. So we are good to go with Ubuntu. Now let us do the best part, which is start using Linux, which we just installed. I will guide you through some commands just to make you comfortable with the CLI before you get busy with your Linux journey. Okay, the first command I generally run is pwd. This will show me where exactly I am right now. This command shows your present working directory. Basically, this shows where you are right now in the file system. Any command you execute now will be executed in this particular directory. One important point to remember is you usually start in your home directory unless the system or terminal settings are configured to open somewhere else. The next command I generally use is ls. It simply lists whatever inside the current folder or directory, the files, the directories, whatever within this directory. If you want to check the user details with which you have logged in, you can say, who am I? And this will show you the user details what you have logged in. And as you know, whenever you install a brand new Windows operating system, we generally do Windows updates, correct? In the same way, you can you need to perform an operating system update as we have installed this for the first time, right? So the command to do it is sudo apt update. And this is asking for my password because sudo generally requires elevated privileges. So it is making sure I am the person who I pretend to be. So let's enter my password and done. So now the operating system is getting updated with all the latest and greatest packages. So this is how you set up your Linux environment within your Windows environment. Congratulations, you are not just watching Linux, you've started using it. So let us quickly recap what we did in this video. First, we understood why people want Linux on Windows and what WSL actually is. Next, we have checked virtualization and also looked at BIOS side. And after that, we have installed WSL and learned few important WSL commands. And finally, we now know how to choose our desired Linux distribution and start using Linux terminal within the PowerShell. So the next time, if you want to start fresh with your Ubuntu environment, just click on the start menu and you will see an icon showing Ubuntu. Just click on it and it instantly starts your Ubuntu terminal. So now you have a working starting point and all the best for your Linux journey.